Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is enjoying their Friday. I actually wasn't going to come on today because I'm in another all-day event. However, I did decide to hop in today once I saw that the Supreme Court has just overturned Roe v. Wade and also had a major decision. I think it was yesterday or the day before on upholding the constitutional right to, what is it, the Second Amendment to bear arms and allowing anybody to carry guns. Now, I know there's opinions all over the place about both, and it's mostly a class and privilege differences and religious beliefs on a lot of things. But one thing I do recognize is how times are changing. When the Constitution was written, when we even look back to the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, knowing that they didn't consider Black people men, right? We were what, 3/5 human, I think, or man, something like that. I don't want to get my facts wrong. But yeah, the Constitution was built on the fact that all men are created equal without the men writing the Constitution actually believing that all men are created equal and not considering their slaves and having slaves, that their slaves were equal to them. So when we look at the times that these constitutional laws were created, what are we finding? We are finding that these laws were created by the white male patriarchy and white men of privilege. And fast forward 250 or so years later, the fight to uphold these outdated and antiquated laws. Now, I'm not saying Roe v. Wade is antiquated, but they're basing it on the Constitution, the fact that they overturned it. So the Constitution is antiquated. When these gun laws were put into place, there weren't even cars, first of all. People had to put gunpowder in muskets and things like that. There weren't AR-47s, AK-47s. There weren't automatic assault rifles. Things were different back then. And the fact that the white male patriarchy is holding on so tightly to these antiquated laws, ideas, and values, and I'm not saying all of them are antiquated, but the ones that they are holding on to for their privilege is quite disheartening. And, maybe the Constitution doesn't uphold the right to abortion, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a right to have an abortion. Now, don't hear me as saying that I am pro-abortion. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, I heard a leader that I used to admire speak on today about choice versus decision. We have a choice to make our own decisions about our lives. And you have a choice to believe what you believe, whether it's your religion, whether it's who you worship, whether it's who you marry, who you love. But your choices should not be, your beliefs and your choices should not be forced upon someone else. And that's where I see the problem happening in a lot of these things. So yeah, God bless you people who are happy about the Supreme Court's recent decisions, but look at the lens through which you're seeing those decisions and look at the consequences this will have for people who are not in your same position of privilege. And what choices do they have? What choices do they have to have autonomy and agency over their own lives and their own bodies? If it's not in the Constitution, it's not in the Constitution. And if you want to hold the same laws from, biblical times to today, that's fine in the Constitution, but maybe we should add something to the laws that give us agency and autonomy over our own health choices. There's a reason why I don't have health insurance is because I don't want insurance dictating what type of treatment that I can get for whatever illness or problems I have. I choose to do it differently, and that's my choice. That doesn't mean it has to be your choice. That's my decision. I am responsible for my own decisions and my own choices, as are you. So when I saw that today, the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe versus Wade, it made me want to cry. Not because I'm pro-abortion, don't hear that, but I am pro-agency, pro-choice, pro-decisions about your own life and your own body. And this affects women more so than men, because women are taking the brunt of the health consequences of carrying a pregnancy to term. Men can't have babies. Men have a right to be fathers, but they can't carry babies. It just hasn't happened yet. And if it does, I'm sure the Supreme Court will overturn that as well, because it wasn't in the Constitution. But my point in sharing this with you is, every time I am in my Facebook group, The Intimacy of Race, I share racial injustice history and what happens historically so that we can be more aware and learn about the history of this country. The one thing I shared today was about segregation in pools and water, and the violence that white people inflicted on Blacks when they wanted to swim in the ocean or wanted to swim in a pool. I mean, there are incidents of draining the pools, of throwing acid in the pools if Black people were in there. And and you wonder why your Black friends don't know how to swim. And I'm not saying this is everyone, but most Black people never had the opportunity to take swimming lessons or go to the Y or be in the pool because of segregation and racism. And if you don't know the history behind it, you look like an idiot when your Black friend is just laying on the beach sipping a pina colada and not going in the water, because we never grew up with that as the norm. There is such imbalance in this country created by the Constitution and by laws that you've got to look at your perspective and see if the lens through which you see the world is the same as the lens of which others experience the world. And most of the time it's not. We all have different circumstances that we grew up in, that we are experiencing, that may make our choices different from the choice that you would make based on your circumstance. And so to blanket it like this is really a sad day. It's really a sad day. And, watching the January 6th committee trials, honestly, guys, this shit is unbelievable. This shit is unbelievable. A Hollywood writer couldn't write it better than what is happening in real life. And it's just scary for me personally, not putting this on anybody else, to see where this country is headed. And I just feel sad in so many ways. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate you all. And I'm going to leave it at that. And thank you, whoever is responding. It just says Facebook user, but I agree. I feel like I'm living on a different planet. And we've got to respect other people's experiences, situations, and circumstances. Just because we could make more privileged choices doesn't mean that that's available to everyone. And so let's stop being selfish and really focus on the consequences that this has for other people. So with that being said, have an amazing weekend, everyone, and I will talk to you next week.